Hello, all of you beautiful beings of light. I know it's been a while since I've done a video for all of you, and I had planned to have a guest on this morning. However, something has come up and he's not able to be with us today. And so I'm hoping Ishmael Perez is who I plan to be with this morning. And something's come up, so I know we'll be able to reschedule with him for another time. I had the beautiful opportunity of meeting him in person several days ago, and he is a beautiful human being, a beautiful spirit embodied in human form. And I can't wait to connect with him on camera and share him with all of you. Today, I have a message for you about what's happening on the planet right now and how you can help to best navigate that. And before I begin with what has been shared with me over the past few weeks since I was here with all of you on camera, I want to remind all of you, or let all of you know, that my next Transcendence Process class is starting up in September. I haven't done any classes at all this summer and have done just a few one-on-one sessions with people who needed personal sessions because I'm traveling a lot this summer. I did something very different and unique for me. I got the guidance in the beginning of May that I needed to let go of my attachments to my home. And I wasn't quite sure what spirit meant by that. I just was sitting at my desk and looking around and I kept hearing that I needed to let go of my attachments to my home. And I didn't really know what that meant. Part of my attachments to my home isn't necessarily emotional attachments, but to attachments to it in that it's only 3 blocks from my son's high school, and it's very convenient for him coming and going from school every day, and I've got my studio there, and so letting go of my attachments to my house meant letting go of my attachments to my children's living there with me as well. So there's a room there for both of my kids, even though my daughter lives with her dad most of the time, I still have her room there, and so I had a really difficult time with letting go of my attachments to my home because of the attachments that I had to my children being there with me. And one of the things that Spirit shared with me a couple of years ago is that our greatest suffering is in our attachments. So I learned how to let go of my attachments to my children's past, letting go of my husband. As some of you know, I got divorced about a year ago, and really learning how to let go of my attachments to how things should be because none of us know what spirit has in store for us, what our soul's path is. And so letting go of attachments isn't the same thing as letting go of connections. I still have those emotional connections with my family. I've just let go of my attachments to them. Like no strings attached to any of my relationships. My relationships are now purely unconditional. And so I had to have that same kind of relationship with my home, which is letting go of my attachments to my home. And so what happened is that because I was able to let go of my attachments to my home, I then put my house on VRBO and Airbnb, and it has been renting out to various families across the entire summer. So my house is rented out the entire summer to it's a different family every week. And I never know from one week to the next where I'm going to be staying. And so it's a really, really interesting place for me to be right now because I'm having to live my life in pure, absolute trust and in the knowing that I am taken care of and that I will always be where the best place is for me to be. And so, because of this, I haven't been doing a lot of shows and I haven't been doing any classes. I haven't been doing much teaching, but I really started getting the guidance again this week that it's time to start doing episodes again because humanity is going to need these. And that it's time for me to start doing sessions again. And it's time for me to start my classes up again. So my next class does start in September. It's a Transcendence Process class. I teach this once a quarter. It's a small group classroom. I try to keep it under less than 10 people so that everyone gets intimate attention. And it is a process that was given to me about 10 years ago to transcend my own fear based beliefs. And so now it's what I teach others as well. So if that's interesting to you, you can hop over to my website at victoriareynolds.com and cruise through the shop section of my website. That's where it's going to show you all the different things that are available. And I do have a new gift coming. It's not quite ready yet. It's called Happiness Through Self-Love. I have that is being set up right now on my website. My book, Rise Up, is still there for free. If you have a difficult time downloading it, let me know because sometimes the autoresponder doesn't work correctly, but I will make sure that you get a copy of that. So that's it for now. Now on to today's message. So a message that came in yesterday from Spirit is to brace for impact. And it's really important that you understand that this isn't about bracing for a negative impact per se, but that there are things coming now to our human experience that are going to impact us and that are going to cause us to stretch and expand. So, when I talk about me leaving my home this summer and letting go of my attachments to my home, what I was shown is that this was going to be a great expansive experience for me. And what's happening on the planet is going to be a great expansive experience for all of humanity and all life on Earth. And so it's important that we are prepared for this expansive experience that is about to come our way and that it is going to make an impact on every single one of us in some way. This doesn't have to be a negative impact. It isn't like our planet's going to be slammed into by another planet and we're going to be, oh, so impacted that humanity goes into massive suffering and we're going to be terrorized by the darkness. This is not going to happen. This will not be allowed to happen. Now, the dark side of the contrast would like for it to be an event that terrorizes humanity and keeps us stuck in fear and drives us down this descending timeline that humanity cannot get out of. That might be the dark side's plan. That is not going to be what happens. The guardians of light and the benevolent entities and the angels and source, God itself, will not allow this to happen because we are guaranteed the ascension. We've been talking about it for thousands of years, and this is now the time that we are moving into. However, in order to move into that process, there are going to be some events that are going to impact all of us. Now, the worst events have happened on other timelines. And all of those timelines have now converged into only two. So all of these, what I started seeing about a year or so ago are these 12 different lanes merging together into one lane. Now, I live in the Los Angeles area, and a 12-lane freeway isn't that unheard of. But when those lanes are all merging into one, it doesn't happen all at once. They slowly have to merge in order for there not to be a massive collision. So that's what's been happening on our planet, is that these timelines have been slowly converging so that there's only two left. And so what we're starting to experience is we're starting to see experiences in history that have taken place over these multiple timelines and trying to decipher and differentiate which of these experiences fit into our reality, which of these stories we're going to take into the future, which of these stories do we leave behind. So we're looking at all these different timelines, histories that have played out over the years, all converging now. And so we're starting to see a lot of different stories from a variety of human histories, if you will, in these various timelines. And so we're going to start seeing stories from different timelines now start to come to life. And we're going to start experiencing aspects of these different timelines in this one timeline as well. So we may experience some earthquakes. It's not going to be so earth-shattering that two-thirds of humanity is lost, that kind of thing. But we may start to experience some quaking, if you will. Now, for me, a couple of years ago, I started seeing this as what I call the Great Shake Awake. That humanity is being shaken awake by these experiences that are coming into our collective reality that are intended to wake us up. And awakening experiences are rarely pleasant experiences. It usually has to be something that brings us to our knees. There's a humbling experience, and that wakes us up to what's possible. It wakes us up to what has been happening on our past reality so that we can see everything that has been happening there. And we don't usually wake up to what's happening, what has happened in our individual and collective past until we have one of these experiences that brings us to our knees, what can be referred to as the spiritual two by four to the back of the head, that right, that the holy shift that causes us to wake up. So that's what's happening collectively to humanity. That's actually what COVID was all about. It was part of waking humanity up so that we could start to create a new reality. And we're going to start having more of those experiences, what I've been referring to for a while as the backside of the storm. So COVID was the front side of the storm. It was there to start wake humanity up. And then now we're moving into the backside of the storm, which is going to be even more difficult for humanity to wrap its head around as the rest of the systems start collapsing and we start seeing more and more exposure of the false stories that we've been told. So this is going to be really difficult for humanity to experience who though for those who don't know what this is and who don't understand this really is for their own good. So we might be experiencing some earthquakes. We might be experiencing the impact of something globally that's going to wake humanity up. My understanding, and people keep asking me about the EBS, what my guides told me is that's actually not the emergency broadcast system. So I've had people ask me about EBS. They're like, well, if it's an EBS in the United States, it's not going to go off in Australia and New Zealand because they don't watch US news. This isn't an emergency broadcast system typically. What I was shown as the EBS stands for Earth Broadcasting Service. So it's something that's going to happen across the entire planet all at one time. And I know I've mentioned this to all of you before that there's going to be a global event of some kind. My team will not tell me what it is. And the reason they won't tell me what it is because it's intended to be a surprise because there are spies everywhere, if you will. But it will be something that is going to wake up the entire planet all at once. And I was shown this again a couple of days ago. There's something kind of like COVID in that it only will take about 48 hours for the entire planet to know about it. And what I was shown in late 2019 is that there would come a time when the media would have no choice but to tell the truth. So that time is quickly arriving now. And my feeling is it's going to be some kind of event that brings humanity together and we stop fighting each other. All these ridiculous little minutiae conversations we've been having that keep us divided and conquered and divided against each other. And we come together and wake up to the truth that we are all one humanity and it's all one experience, and we need to come together in order to navigate whatever this holy shift is that is going to be coming. And that has already started, right? It actually started, I got the guidance back in 2012 that there was going to be more and more of this corruption would start to be exposed. So over the years, we've been seeing bits and pieces of it slowly drip. It actually started dripping about 25 years ago when they were talking about the pedophilia in the Catholic Church. That was the beginning of dripping the corruption that's in our religiosities and the corruption that's in some of our systems. So it's slowly been dripped out to humanity so that humanity has time to adjust before the next wave of information comes forward. So slowly the information tap, if you will, has been turned up and turned up and turned up and turned up. So now we're getting regular information that's coming out about the corruption across all of the different systems and organizations and corporations, all of it, all across the entire planet. So it's slowly getting turned up. So for people who are out there saying, oh, why don't they just turn on the flood? Well, you can't flood humanity. If you do, too many lives will be lost and too much of humanity will go into fear, which defeats the entire point of creating a love-based reality. So the dark side of the contrast would love for us to all go into fear and terror. And that's what their agenda is, if you will. However, we are creating a reality based in love. And so humanity is not going to be allowed to be terrorized and taken down this dark dissension timeline, if you will. But there will be events that will cause enough people to become really, really uncomfortable within their present comfort zone and wake them up to what's possible. Now, what I've known for years is that there are those of us who woke up years ago. And the reason we woke up early is to be able to help others through their awakening process. So there are those of us like me who woke up. My first awakening experience was in 1987. That's when I stepped out of my religiosity and began to discover self-help books and spirituality outside of religion. And so there are a lot of us who experienced our first awakening experience right around 1987. It was actually a time called the harmonic convergence. So there were a lot of us that woke up in 1987 around the harmonic convergence. Another whole bunch of people woke up around the 2008 recession in preparation for the 2012 3D, 4D convergence when we began entering this new reality. Now, the ascension actually began in my understanding is 1963. I've had some other people say 1962. But that's when love began returning to the planet, and that's when the ascension process began. And that's when the dark side of the contrast kind of went into hyperdrive to keep us from ascending. But they can't stop it because love is the most powerful force in the universe. In fact, love is all that is in the universe. And because love is so powerful, it continues to grow. It's impossible to stop it. So it has now grown to the point where it has become snowball. There's basically a snowball effect on the planet, and there's nothing the dark side can do to stop it. They're doing everything they can to stop it, but it's impossible to stop it at this point because so many people are now awake and aware and are living their lives from this beautiful love-based, heart-centered experience. So a lot of us woke up in 2008, 2012 to be able to help the rest of humanity as they move through their awakening experience. And I started letting people know at the end of 2019 that that's the reason we woke up early, so that we could help with this great awakening. And so the great awakening started really in 2020 in lockdown, and people started understanding there were a lot of things that they didn't know. They went inside. So what happens is the dark contrast tends to keep shooting itself in the foot. It has a plan, but then the plan continues to backfire because light can work wonders under the cover of darkness. So they had this plan about sending us all home during COVID-19 for lockdown and to scare us. But what happened is a whole lot of people went inside and found source within themselves, and they started to see the corruption that's out there. So a whole lot of people woke up during the lockdown and since then, during what is called the Great Awakening. So a lot of us who woke up early to be able to help those who are waking up now in this Great Awakening. And those who woke up during the Great Awakening during 2020, late 1919, or 2019, 2020, 21, woke up then to be able to help the next wave of people who will be waking up in the next year, coming months, potentially up to the next year, as the rest of this information starts to be uncovered and as we become impacted by the information that's coming in, and then whatever it is that the guardians and Mother Earth have planned for humanity to finish waking everyone else up. What I was being shown about a year ago is that every human being would be given conscious choice. So in order to be given conscious choice, every human being has to be given access to the information that's out there. And so all of these bans on information will be removed, and everyone will have the opportunity to see how the game is really being played and be able to make a conscious choice about which reality they want to participate in. And everyone will be given a choice whether to cross the 4D bridge or not. That is actually going to be the new prime directive. Not just freedom of choice, but conscious choice. So that from this point forward, every human being, all life in this space and across the universe and the multiverse will be given conscious choice, not manipulated choice, coerced choice, blind choice that we've been experiencing up to this point. So the information is going to start coming out, and people are going to be impacted by it. And so it's really important that you brace for impact. What that really means is that no matter what happens, to stay loving, to stay in faith and trust and knowing that everything will be okay and everything is falling apart because it needs to be reconstructed. And some things are going to be allowed to happen to wake everyone else up. And as I mentioned, a lot of times those awakening experiences can be quite painful. This doesn't mean that humanity is going to be wiped off the face of the earth, that there's going to be massive earthquakes and storms and tornadoes, and we're going to be terrorized by bad ETs and all that. Those are all stories that are created by the dark contrast to keep humanity in fear. Will there be some transition experiences? Absolutely. Transitions are rarely easy because they're growth experiences. And these are the last of the growth experiences as this planet shifts from being a learning planet to a planet of peace, prosperity, and paradise. So there will need to be a final letting go of everything that doesn't serve us, a final discharging of all the charges against us, in a sense, a final purging of everything that doesn't serve us, a final breaking down of old systems that were all created and based in fear to keep us from understanding the truth of who we are all capable of. We're all divine love having a human experience. Every single one of us is capable of miracles. It's just that our systems have told us otherwise. Every single one of us are capable of self-governance, but we've been told we need governments to keep us divided and conquered. So all of those systems are going to start collapsing, and that is going to be really uncomfortable for those who don't understand that this really is for our highest and greatest good. It is going to be asking all of us to let go of our attachments to how we think things need to be, because as soon as we let go of our attachments, we're then able to be free to go about our work without any attachments to how things should be. So what happened with me in my house is kind of a microcosm experience to show you what it's like to let go of attachments and allow God to take the lead in our lives. So no matter what happens over the next coming months and the next couple of years, as scary as it may be for those who don't understand this really is for their highest and greatest good, stay in the loving, stay focused, and remember that you woke up early. You woke up early for the sole purpose, SOUL, purpose, of helping others through this process. So, what you have learned about letting go of the suffering and the pain and the attachments and the fear, you'll be asked then to assist others through this. Remember, no matter what happens, do not allow yourself to go into ego and say, I told you so, to those who aren't awake yet. It is your role to stay in love and compassion toward everyone and to hold their hand and to love them through the process. There is an impact coming, and every one of us will be impacted by it. And it doesn't have to be frightening. It's only as scary as we allow it to be. Sorry, I have to keep adjusting. I'm sitting on a couple of pillows to make me tall enough to fit into the camera, so the pillows keep sliding forward. So I wanted to share this with all of you that no matter what happens, stay loving. Know that the Earth Alliance does have this handled. Some of you call it the white hats. I don't use that. It's not a term that I use, but there is an Earth Alliance. And this Earth Alliance does work directly with the Guardians of Light. It works directly with Mama Gaia, who is very much involved in this process. She is purging the planet of anyone who is not loving and who cannot hold the vibration of paradise that she is now being recreated. And so there will be many people leaving the planet. And it's really important to understand that for those who are leaving, this is a soul contract. Their soul agreement is complete. For those who are beautiful and loving who are leaving, it's because they have reached the end of their contract. And for those who are not loving, it's because they don't have the resonance to be able to stay here. And that will not be a massive number of people that the dark side has tried to terrorize us with. Most of those people will not be missed. Those who work on behalf of the contrast will not be missed. My understanding is many of them will just simply disappear, and we won't even remember their name. So it's really important that you stay in loving and that you stay focused on love, that you stay focused on the God's source spirit within yourself. And remember, we're all here to hold each other's hands and to hold each other in compassion and help each other through, because this is how we move through this final reckoning, the day of reckoning, if you will, which is going to, it's taking place now and will more and more and more over the coming months as the old world reality starts crumbling and we start building a new reality. And know and trust that everything that we need to create the new reality is already on its way to us. It already is. When the old world would not be allowed to collapse without the resources for the new world already be putting into place, we won't be allowed to go into complete and absolute chaos. So it's really important that you hold on to this truth, hold on to the loving, hold on to the faith that all is well, stay connected to source and with love, stay connected with all of those in your life who you love, even if they disagree with you, love them anyway and love them through the process so they know that when shit starts to hit the fan, so to speak, that they know that you are a safe haven for them where they can come and know that they are accepted and they are loved and they are not judged simply because they didn't understand. Stay out of fear, stay out of judgment, stay loving, and stay free. As always, remember to hold your light so high others can't help but see their own light. Together, we are creating a world of peace, harmony, prosperity, and freedom for all life on earth. And as always, get bold, be fearless, and live.